What's up, y'all? I am back in my car. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. It's a lovely day, a glorious day. This is every day for me, my friends. Not every day, most days though. Some days are a little more challenging than others, but that's part of the process. It's all fun nonetheless. So let's talk about that right there. Let's talk about that shit, man. So I was thinking this morning, I've been actually thinking about this for a long time, just how bad consumerism is and how we don't recognize it properly for what it is. So check this out. Everything that we do, not everything, but most things that most people do habitually, regularly, like every single day of their fucking lives is some form of like mindless consumerism, and we don't even recognize it. So the more, I've said this before, the more we do something, the more used to it we get. This camera's way off center. The more we do something, the more used to it we get. I should probably get like a phone mount, and then I can just center this and not have to hold it and have it like blah, 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 shake it and shit. Anyway, it is what it is. Deal with it. The more we do something, the more we habituate this process, the more it turns into a habit. It's habitual, right? When we build habits, what we do is when shit really hits the fan, what happens is we enter like autopilot mode and we just do what we're used to doing. We do that, like the habits that we've built. And I've said this before, it's really important to build the right habits. It's really important, not just like I eat properly. Like that's sort of like a given. That should be a given. I eat properly. I avoid seed oil like the plague. Like this should be built into you already. If it's not, start there. But if you've built like semi-decent habits, one thing that you're going to have to look at is the habit of how you make money. Most people, that's a job. So everyone has this perspective of like, well, I'm just not ready yet, and maybe one day, 10 years down the road, I'll create my own thing, which is never gonna happen. That just means it's never gonna fucking happen. But so the question is, how do you break into that? And you break into that by changing the habits that you have of how you make money. That way, when shit hits the fan, instead of running to a job, right? And I found myself in this situation recently. Not really recently at all, but, you know, recently enough to where it's relevant still in my brain. What the fuck, yo? But, you know, it's like, okay, so I need to go make money. My brain instantly went to, okay, well, I mean, I could just go get a job. And it was like, whoa, I had to catch myself because it's like, wait, no. That's not how I make money anymore. I don't make money from a job. I can make money on my own, and it's not a problem. Okay, right? Like, that's how much habits control us. Even though I haven't had a job in like God knows how long, it's been a pretty long time. Even though I haven't had a job in that long of a time, even though I'm aware of this, even though like I don't want a job, even despite all of these things, when shit hits the fan, your habits take over. So, what's the real problem with all this? The real problem with all this is that jobs are consumerism. Jobs point you in the direction of seeking comfort, of not learning how to build anything on your own. It's the same thing, it's the same mechanism as not thinking and letting an ideology do the thinking for you. It's the same exact mechanism, just a different field where you're doing it. So when I say not thinking and letting an ideology do the thinking for you, I'm talking about playing social games and doing social status signaling kind of shit. So as an example, right? We have certain social issues that our culture has deemed worthy and acceptable to talk about, and you must take an opinion in order to join this side of the ideology, right? Like, if you're atheist, you're part of that ideology. What also comes with that territory is things like, well, I'm also pro-choice and I'm pro-gay people and all this kind of nonsense, right? So, like it's like, and they don't actually care about any of those issues, is what I'm getting at. They don't give a rat's ass, and none of them have any skin in the game, and none of them actually do anything involved with any of those social problems that they supposedly care so much about, right? Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're actually gay, or they're pretending to be gay, or pretending to be trans, or whatever the fuck, right? But all of it is a giant social game for the sake of getting social points. And it's really key to understand that, because this ties in directly with consumerism. And the reason why all of these people struggle with like finding meaning or purpose in their life is because they don't produce anything. They don't create anything. I don't know if they think they are or not, but they're literally just playing a giant social game to see who can win the most points. And I had a semi-experience with this recently, and people talking about abortion. But it's like, is anyone involved with abortion here? No, of course not. Like, does anyone work at like one of the clinics? Does anyone like actively reach out to people and try to convince them to not have an abortion? Yeah, like all that shit. Like nobody has their hands dirty, and if your hands aren't dirty in whatever the fuck you're talking about, then why are you even talking about it? It's just it's a status game. It's a social signaling game. It's hideous, and I hate it. I can't stand it. But, anyway, like that's sort of the point. The point isn't to think about the topic, right? The point is to act as a consumer where I just have an opinion, and therefore I'm part of this group, and because I'm part of this group, that means I fit in, and that means that I have my little social circle. Like, notice that there's no intention of like, let's build something, right? Let's build something as a community. It's just, no, I'm part of the community. The community that already exists, I want to be on that team. So it's pure consumerism for the sake of satisfying your own, desire for social stimulation. It's kind of putrid shit. I hate that shit. Anyway, consumerism is a plague, and we've been sold on this plague. It's so easy to become a producer. It's easy. I shouldn't say it's so easy, because it is still, there are parts about it that's difficult, because breaking that habit of consumerism is genuinely challenging, and you'll go through like a fucking mental breakdown. Shit you not, man. Anyway, you'll get there if you try. You just have to try and keep trying and try really hard. But it is genuinely difficult to get to like break out of that habit. But it's necessary to break out of that habit. If you want to actually like do something and accomplish something with your life, you have to break that habit. There's no way around it, man. I'm at my destination, but I'm going to sit here and talk for a second. So, nobody sees this either. And if you want like a perfect example of it, just look at look at what people do. So, we generally speaking see it as a bad thing to talk about work. And like, when I'm out of work, and I want nothing to do with work. And I can't tell you how fucked up that is. How like royally fucked up that is. You should be obsessing over it. You should love talking about it. But no one does. So what's that indicative of? To me, that indicates we have a whole bunch of people who are living life completely wrong. You don't even want to talk, like, it's boring to talk about your job. Why? You should be obsessed with that shit. Nobody sees it that way. Nobody like understands when you're obsessed with something. They don't get it, because what they're obsessed with is consumerism, right? They don't give a rat's ass about like building something. They want to sit down and they want to like consume your time and just like consume your thought process as a pill that they swallow. And then they go about their day and nothing's changed. And then we wonder why we have these like midlife crises and this kind of shit where it's like, wow, I've been married for 15, 20 years and I don't know my spouse. It's like, what the fuck have you been doing? Like, that kind of stuff blows my mind, because it's like, how disconnected are you from reality? And the answer is very disconnected, apparently. And the reason why you're disconnected, I'm speaking on experience, based on experience, by the way. Keep that shit in mind when you hear me talking. I'm speaking from absolute experience. The reason why you have these problems is because you fucking consume and do nothing else. Life isn't meant to be this big consumer game where you just show up to a place, you don't have to try, you're not challenged, you just show up, you nod your head and just say and follow orders for 8 hours, and then you go home and like unplug from it all. That's not what it's supposed to be. You're like literally you're like creating split personalities. You're creating a personality that like pops up when you enter the workspace and then like shuts off when you exit the workspace. That's not good. That just, I don't know, that doesn't sound good to me anyways. You know, I think some degree of that is probably necessary no matter what you're doing. But you don't want to have like a completely fucking alternate reality like that. That just is not good for the soul, man. And again, speaking from experience, right? So when you really see it, you can't unsee it. It's so bad, man. It is so bad. Nobody knows what they want to do. Everyone wants to think that they're like the shit, but they're not, because they live just like everyone else. They're just like a copy-paste, mindless retard that, number one, does lets ideology do all their thinking for them. Oh, that was weird. A butterfly was flying with that car. That's kind of cool. They let their ideology do the thinking for them, and also they let a corporation decide what the fuck they're gonna do, like when they're gonna work, when they're not gonna work, where they're gonna work, who they're gonna work with, who they're not gonna work with, why they work, how they work. Like, you're offloading a big burden onto someone else, and that's okay. It's generally okay to do that from time to time, but you don't really want to do that with this shit that really matters, like thinking. That's a big one. Thinking, how you make money, how you develop relationships with people. You don't really want to offload, just like shrug that responsibility off onto someone else. It's not good for your soul. And when I say soul, I mean your soul, right? Not mind, not physical health. It all stems from the soul, right? The soul, if the soul is unhealthy, the mind is unhealthy, the body is unhealthy, right? So, I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job at illustrating how bad the just mass consumerism problem is in our fucking culture. And, you know, a lot of this stems from, oh God, the most selfish generation that has ever existed. The fucking boomers. Swear to God, boomers are the most selfish generation that has ever existed. Ever in humanity. They were given everything on a silver platter, and, like, they still act entitled, like, beyond entitled. There was another thought that I had yesterday, and it's, like, way too complex for me to portray it in video. If I wanted to shoot video on it, I would need like bullet points, notes, and you know, I'd probably need to do a couple takes, because it was it's a thick thought, and I just don't have the like mental space, and I don't have the physical space to really do something like that. But you know, maybe one day it ties into the idea of consumerism. Basically, if you imagine a spectrum, on one side you have consistency, and on the other side you have speculation. And it's basically, you know, safety versus risk. And this is like the entire field of insurance is built on this, and virtually every business period is built in this manner, where you're taking something that's speculative for someone, and you are supplying consistently whatever the answer is for that problem. So what we are trained to do is seek as much consistency, exterior, like consistency coming from the outside in one form or another, and sort of like pushing on us, rather than creating our own consistency or just being okay with speculation. We can't handle speculation in our lives. That's why people always portray it in such a negative light. It's because they don't know how to handle, like, I might lose. I might fuck up. Someone might laugh at me. Someone may make fun of me. I might look stupid and feel stupid. Nobody knows how to deal with that kind of shit. They just don't have the mental capacity to deal with it. I don't know. They don't have the experience. They haven't experienced it enough. Instead, they've built this entire life where everything is 100% predictable. There's nothing in my life that would ever jump out and like just catch me by surprise and take a shit on my whole life. Not by my own choice anyway, right? But the irony is, when you have a life like that, that's coming for you and that's going to get you. And it's going to be completely out of your control, and you're going to be completely blindsided by it. And I'm gonna say this too. A lot of people are in for a rude awakening. In the next 5-10 years, they're in for a very rude awakening. Because that shit's coming, man. That shit is coming. And the people who have adapted, and the people who have taught themselves how to be okay with risk, how to be okay with speculation, how to create their own consistency, how to find consistency, right? How to provide consistency to others in some form or another. Like, you have to understand, the only reason why any fast food chain is big is because they provide food, number one, and they do it quickly, and they do it consistently. That's it. That's literally it. That's all. Billion-dollar industries, because they're able to do it consistently. It tastes the same every time. You're not going to go in there and get a different taste. Your expectation has already been set. And as long as they can keep meeting the expectation of, I show up, I get it in 2 minutes, and it tastes like this, they're going to be billion-dollar industries, right? Anyway, consumerism is a plague, and you need to fight against it actively. Actively fight against it. It's what's wrong with the church, too, by the way. Maybe that's a different video. For now, I got to go.